Assalamu alaikum. In today's video, we are looking at another brilliant game of Mikhail Tal, which he played against Hungarian Grandmaster Zoltan Ribli. Zoltan Ribli was playing as a white, so he started the game with the knight to f3, reti opening, d5, g3, bishop to g4, bishop to g2, c6, b3, preparing the bishop to b2. So knight to d7, bishop to b2, knight g to f6, short castle and e6. Now this game is transferred into King's Indian attack. d3, bishop to c5, knight b to d2, short castle and e4. In this position, the white bishops are way more powerful than Mikhail Tal pieces, but Mikhail Tal found a brilliant way to limit their activity and he played d captures on e4. And after d captures on e4, e5. If we look at the light square bishop, it cannot move freely on this diagonal because of this e4 pawn, and same goes with the dark square bishop, it cannot move freely on this diagonal because of this e5 pawn. So always look for the opportunities in the game where you can limit or reduce your opponent piece's activity. White in this position played h3, Mikhail Tal accepts the exchange, bishop captures on f3, queen captures on f3, and now queen to e7. Rook a to d1, placing his rook on the open file. b5, Mikhail Tal is expanding on the queen side, and later he would want to play this a5 and a4 move and try to disturb this pawn structure. h4, a5 as expected. c3. c3 is not the best move in this position. The best move for the white is to play a4, and after b captures, white is good in this position because his bishop can move freely in this diagonal. But if we go back and look at the c3 move, if Mikhail Tal play a4, white can play b4 and stop the pawn exchanges, but this bishop cannot move freely on this diagonal because of this c3 pawn. But Mikhail Tal didn't play the a4, he played knight to b6, rook f to e1, queen to e6, queen to f5, offered the queen exchange. You can imagine how much people were afraid of Mikhail Tal and his queen. Even the grandmasters would always try to exchange the queen with Mikhail Tal because they know how much Mikhail Tal can be dangerous with the queen. Mikhail Tal accepts the queen exchange with the knight to g4, and if Mikhail Tal is accepting the queen exchange, then there is something wrong, because if white played queen captures on e6, this move is a blunder because after f captures on e6, Mikhail Tal is creating a lot of pressure on this f2 pawn. Let's say you play rook to e2, but now rook captures on f2, creating some discover check threats. So let's say rook captures on f2, and after bishop captures on f2, white has two options. Let's say he play king to f1, but now knight to e3 check. Again white has two options. If he captures the bishop, then after knight captures on d1, let's say king to e2, but now knight captures on b2 is just winning for Mikhail Tal. And let's say in this position you don't capture the bishop and you play king to e2, but now after knight captures, king captures, again this is winning for Mikhail Tal because he has the rook in exchange for the bishop. And if in this position white don't play king to f1, he play king to h1, then simple bishop to e3 is again winning for Mikhail Tal because bishop is attacking the knight and he is also threatening knight to f2. And if you move your rook, then bishop captures on d2 is again winning for Mikhail Tal. So that's why in this position exchanging the queen is not a good idea for the white, and he did the same. He played rook to e2, giving another defender to the f2 pawn, rook a to d8, placing his rook on the open file, and now bishop to f3. White wants to remove this powerful knight from the square, and Mikhail Tal played rook to d3, but computer is suggesting that the best move for Mikhail Tal in this position is to play knight captures on f2, and after rook captures on f2, rook to d3, attacking the bishop. Let's say bishop to e2, but now rook captures on g3 check, king to h2, and now after bishop captures on f2, this is just winning for Mikhail Tal. But rook to d3 is still not a bad move, and it's not the sacrifice, because if you capture the knight, then rook captures on g3 is a fork. You cannot capture it with the pawn because this bishop is spinning this pawn with the king. Now let's say you play king to h2, but now after bishop captures on g4, again this is winning for Mikhail Tal because this rook is placed on the very dangerous square. That's why capturing this knight is not a good idea for the white, and he played king to g2, giving another defender to the bishop. In this position, Mikhail Tal sacrificed his knight with the knight captures on f2. White played rook captures on f2, which is a mistake. The best move for him is to play queen captures, and after pawn captures, still it's not good for him to capture this knight. Let's say if he capture it, then after bishop captures, king captures, rook captures. This is just winning for Mikhail Tal because of these two powerful rooks. Let's say you exchange this rook, but after rook captures, Mikhail Tal is again winning because he is up in the exchange. But still in this position, white would have a chance to play the game. But he played rook captures on f2, and that is a mistake because now Mikhail Tal played bishop captures on f2, king captures on f2, and now queen to d6. Mikhail Tal retreats the queen and he is putting a lot of pressure on this d2 knight. So bishop to c1 defend the knight, g6 attacks the queen, but according to the computer, the best move for him is to play queen to c5 checks, and after king to f1, Mikhail Tal can create some gameplay on this diagonal. But still g6 is not a bad move. After g6, white played queen to g5, f6 again attacks the queen, queen to h6, and now f5. The simple threat f5 is creating is f captures on e4. The bishop cannot capture it back because of this pin. That's why white played king to g2, removing the pin, but this is a blunder because now Mikhail Tal played rook captures on f3, giving away exchange sacrifice. Capturing with the king is not a good idea because of queen to d3 check. Let's say you play king to g2, but now after queen to e2, if you play king to h3, but now after queen captures on d1, Mikhail Tal is threatening a queen captures on c1 and also threatening a queen to h1 checkmate. So let's say you don't go to g2 square, you go to f2, but now f captures on e4 check. Again it's forced to play king to g2 because if you go to this e1 square, then after queen captures on g3 check, king to e2 and queen to f2 is a checkmate. That's why it's forced to play king to g2 and after queen to e2 check. Again this is just winning for Mikhail Tal. That's why in this position capturing with the king is not the best move. White played knight captures on f3, queen captures on d1, and after white played knight to g5, he resigned in this position because it's very simple. Mikhail Tal would play queen to h5 and now it's forced for the white to exchange the queen. After queen captures, pawn capture, Mikhail Tal is winning this position because he is up in the exchange and he has the rook in exchange for the bishop, and that is the reason why white resigned in this game. So I hope you like this brilliant game of Mikhail Tal, and if you like it, please like this video, subscribe to this channel to get more amazing and inspiring content.